Because the idea of a flat Earth is correct esoterically. You can think of it as a flat plane. We're living in a particular plane and experience, but it's not so literal. It's not so literal. It can't be. And I'm going to tell you a very simple reason at the end of this video why it can't be. And it's not a reason that anyone else has said, so bear with me, hear me out. Hi there, my name is Toby, and on this channel I talk about my approach to training the body, training your energy, the life force, and my ideas about the world, the universe, how it all works, how do we work in there, how do we fit into this universe, and finally, how could we build a better world? I am working on a project that could do just that. But today I want to talk about the flat Earth theory, because it's a big deal now. We've got, it's a big movement, the flat Earth movement, and I think it's an interesting movement because it points out something. You see, now we're living in a world where we do not know what to believe anymore. It's become very unclear. See, once you see through one big lie, once you see just one big lie, one global deception, then you've got to question, then you think, well, what else are they lying about? And then you realise, well, they're lying about pretty much everything. So what do you believe now? How do we know what to believe? Very difficult. And the main problem is this. We are so used to being told what to believe. We've forgotten about thinking. We've forgotten we've got to think about it. And so we still continue with that practice. We now realise the state has been lying to us. So now we look to someone else to tell us the truth. Well, who's going to tell us the truth? And that's not quite right, because now we can't look to anyone else anymore. That's the whole point. Everyone's going to tell you something a little bit different. But again, you've got to think of it as research. This is all now research. We're starting again. We've got to research and think about what is happening. Flat Earthers have come up with some interesting anomalies. Their research has pointed out some things that are wrong. It's undoubtable. They have some questions that can't be answered easily. But I still think they've jumped to the wrong conclusion. They've taken it a little bit too far. But I want to fix some of the anomalies. Well, let's fix a couple of the mistakes first. One of the mistakes is they talk about density. They say there's no such thing as gravity. It all operates on density. So a lighter density rises up, a heavier density goes down. But if you say such a thing, you're actually still talking about gravity. Why would lighter density go up and heavier density down? Because of gravity. You're still talking about gravity. So you've talked about density, but you haven't realized you're actually still just calling it gravity. It's still gravity. Because if there was no gravity, only density, it wouldn't go up or down. There'd be no up or down. It would be forming in different bubbles. It would be random bubbles of different densities. There'd be no up or down at all. Up or down means gravity. Otherwise, there's no up or down. Now, gravity, as they say it is, does not exist. So they are correct there. There is no such thing as gravity. There is a force that behaves like gravity, and we're calling it gravity because we don't understand what it is, so we've given it its own name. So modern science does not understand gravity. That's why they've called it that. But gravity is really just magnetism. There is only one force in the universe, one fundamental force, that is magnetism. There's two things in the universe. There's electricity and magnetism, or to be more specific, dielectricity. It's a voltage, a potential of energy. And then magnetism is the force that is created by that potential as it wants to return back. It wants to disappear, return back to inertia. Now this is Tesla's physics. This is a theory of ether. Very different science. But this you could call grand unified field theory. And it all boils down to one force, magnetism. So gravity is not a force in its own right. In modern science, they've got four fundamental forces. But they would like to have one, but they just can't find it. They don't know how to find it. So, but there is one, it's magnetism. And I talk about that in my lecture series. So what they're saying, that gravity is not true, is correct. Gravity is not true. There is no such singular force called gravity. It is simply an effect, a particular effect of magnetism that requires some explanation. And then they've also discovered that the maps are wrong. You see, the globe, the image of the globe is wrong. And they're correct about that. But they again, not many people know this, but the maps that we are using of the world, these are political maps. They were created, I don't know, 300, 400, 500 years ago, when the Western worlds didn't want to look too small. See, Great Britain and America, they can't be too small. They had to make themselves look bigger. And Africa is too big. We don't want to make Africa too big, we've got to shrink that down. So Africa has made smaller and they're made bigger. They've changed the sizes of the countries. And it's done for political reasons. And they cannot go back on that now. You can't go back on it. And you can research this and look into this. So the maps we are using are still based on these political maps. The sizes are all wrong. And flat earthers have picked up on that, but they don't seem to realise that the maps have been changed for political reasons, nothing to do with the globe or a flat earth. It's political. It means NASA can never show you a true photograph of the Earth, because if you can't see, they don't want you to see the real sizes of the countries. So they have to create a fake planet to perpetrate this fake map, which is still based on a political map. So that's one anomaly they discovered, but that is the solution to it. And again, there's the size of the Earth. The Earth could be a different size. But there are very simple mathematical experiments you can do to determine the size of the Earth. So I'm not sure about that. So there could be a different size to the Earth, and if the Earth was a different size to what they say, that will have some different anomalies. You know, you will see some different things that don't fit with it. But the simple reason, and here it is, the simplest reason why the Earth must be round, not flat, is geometry. Because geometry, that the entire universe is governed by geometry. It comes from mathematics, and mathematics is geometry. This is the underlying field of the ether. It's non-physical, it's the world of the spirit, it's the world of mathematics. And for any mathematics, any geometry to come into reality, you will have a sphere, a ball, because that is simply the most efficient geometry for space. Everything will form into a ball in space because that is the most efficient geometry. It has to. And the bigger the lump of matter, the closer to a perfect ball it will become. And I've got a magnet here. This is a magnet. This is square. We formed it into a magnet, but the magnetic force in here, remember, is the same as gravity. It's the same force. If I were to take a hammer and smash this up into pieces, keep smashing it smaller and smaller, these pieces would gradually form into a sphere. It wouldn't be a square. And the smaller I smash the pieces, the closer to a perfect sphere this would become, just because of efficiency. It's the most efficient geometry for the force to manifest itself. And the Taoist masters, the Tao is very ancient spiritual philosophy, but it's really natural philosophy. It's dealing with the natural world and the spirit, the internal world. And these guys believed in spheres. The universe was made up of spheres. So they knew about the planets, they knew about the stars, and they believed further and further out there, bigger ones, huge, huge, huge spheres. And so these spheres would exist also esoterically as well as physically. So there is also a crossover point, but you have to have a sphere. You can't have a flat plane in three-dimensional geometry. Well, you can, but it's high energy to maintain it. It will not naturally be so. In other words, if you could create a big metal flat disc, you'd have to create this so it holds itself and then float that off in space. You could live on that, sort of, but there'd be nothing holding you to it. It won't have enough gravity to hold you to it. It would have to have a good depth to it. But I'm saying gravity, but remember, gravity is an effect of magnetism, a particular way that magnetism works. And again, I'll leave links below to the videos I talk about that unification of gravity and magnetism. So anyway, I wanted to address this because I'm talking about some of these deceptions that we have to uncover. But the real solution is we've got to think about it. We actually got to develop a critical mind. It's not so much about understanding the lies as realizing, hang on a second, we've been lazy. We've just been listening to what we've been told. We've been programmed, but we've been programmed to be programmed. We've been programmed to sit back and listen, not really think with a true critical mind. You've got to go back to deductive reasoning, pure logic, really think about things from scratch. And that's what I try and do in my lecture series, Magickal Science. I'm trying to build a model of the universe from scratch with pure logic. And if you follow me from the beginning of that lecture series, it should make sense to your critical mind. I'm starting from scratch, no ideas about the universe. From the very beginning, how do we build it up? That means we have to think about the world, research it, and use our critical mind, use our logic. And you're going to look at it like this. First of all, when you discover the first big lie, you've been red-pilled. You've taken the red pill. It's like, wow, I now see what's really going on. And then you realise, hang on a second, there's a hell of a lot of lies going on, and it's terrible. Now you've been black-pilled, because now you're living in a dark world. Oh my God, everything is a lie. What the hell is going on? It's terrible. And after you've taken the black pill, there's another one you take, is the white pill. Because then after a while you realise, hang on a second, this is terrible, but there is something more. There is hope here. There's a real energy underneath all of this. What's really going on? And you start to focus on that. And that is really the abundance. Because the world we live in is actually abundant. It's abundant, and we've been led to believe it is scarce. We're living in scarcity and poverty when everything really is abundant. But I'm going to talk about that in another talk. So stay tuned for that. After the white pill, the final pill to take is the purple pill. And that is the sovereign pill. That's when you realize this whole thing is down to me. I am in control of my own life, my own energy, my own perception, and I must take charge. I must take charge of my mind and take charge of my life. So that is the final pill, the purple pill. And purple is the colour of the sovereign. People use the colour purple to represent the sovereign. So we can say the purple pill. So I hope this made sense. Please do leave any comments or questions below. And I do appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. And I look forward to seeing you in any of these other videos here.